Hi everybody, welcome to this month's spiritual development webinar with the lovely Kim Barker. We're both so thrilled to be here this month. We managed to do it live together. I know that a lot of you had tuned in to see us last month and it didn't work out because we were supposed to be here together today. And we've been having a really wonderful 24 hours non-stop chat. So you guys get to be a fly on the wall today. For anybody who doesn't know, I have been actually posting so much information and I will continue to post some more links about Kim after this webinar is over. But I just want to do a short introduction to her just to introduce her. Kim is from, her company is named Root to Crown. And she's kind of like a life purpose guide, an intuitive medium. She does aquatic sound journeys and sound healing. She's a meditative storyteller and a ghostwriter. And she does spirit dance instruction. So that there is so much more. The quote from Root to Crown is that it is a kindred fusion of practical soul purpose and whimsical mindfulness modalities that are crafted to cultivate an inspired approach to muse and guide each person in achieving their personal, creative and financial goals. And Kim's really so multifaceted, you'll get to learn that throughout this. Really, it can't all be consolidated into words. You really just have to meet her. You have to explore and really find out. And yeah, we will continue on. I will release some more information and her website links shortly. So welcome, Kim. Thank you so much for connecting with this group and with me and for making this journey today to share yourself awesome. And your amazing. Work. Thank you. So yeah, I select a special guest every month, somebody who's inspired my journey. And Kim and I had met briefly in Charlotte a few years back now. It was really briefly, if I remember, but we just connected and we've stayed in touch online, and I've been watching everything that she offers. It's absolutely amazing. And really, she's a very talented astrologist, psychic, writer, musician and healer. She's extremely authentic in her approach, which is really what kind of drew me towards her. You know, she's just real. And it's refreshing to be around more and more people who are trying to just be more authentic and so humble in this work, and at the same time badass. So everything basically is healing that Kim is doing. It really is helping to align you with a higher version of yourself. And Kim had recently launched the Wisdom Deck, which she's really generously gifted me a copy with. Look at the bag. They're called, it's a collaborative project with Georgie Nakima. Mm-hmm. And so it's Georgie's artwork. I'll show you some more of this in a minute. And Kim's wonderful writings that are just so inspired. And they're called, it says Untold Libra Aries, as in libraries. And that's because Kim's an Aries and Georgie is a Libra. I only learnt that yesterday. But we will be selecting a collective card shortly. But look at this. Some of these beautiful artworks.
Georgie Nakima is amazing. Garden of Journey,
yeah. Again, I will put links so that you guys can order your set, because you can order them on Kim's website. They're not only that, they smell amazing. So I'm so grateful, and I will be using a lot of these cards for readings in our group. So I'm very grateful for that, and yes, we will be sharing some more of this shortly. No, maybe we will do it now. Should we pull a collective card? Do you want to do it? I think you should do it. Okay. Because you know the cards. I've only just got them, so...
Okay. Well, in picking this collective card, and thank you so much for having me here today. And we're flowing in on like.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that part. I'm gonna let Kim do Kim and Tim. That's my husband. Kim will do a little intro. I just thought we'd pull out the card whilst I was on subject. So.
Let's do it. Let's for this card. Imagine what we just heard earlier about blossoming. So the intention of this card is so that we all may hear the words and blossom in some way, maybe a new opportunity or a new idea, and looking at an old pattern or something like that. Some inspiration gifted by the guides. Whoever your guide is, maybe just think of that guide or that symbol in your life that connects you with the feeling of love. And we'll just put all of our energies into this one card that'll speak to us all today. Okay, and it's kind of the one that you highlighted a week ago. Fitting for this group, I'm sure, is...
Oh, wow, look at it.
This is Warrior of New Worlds. So I can only imagine everyone that's joined this call and in this group is part of the evolution, the redefining of our world as we know it. And so this card, as you can see, has the armor of the mother, father, sister, and brother. So we all contain those divine masculine and feminine energies in waging this new peace. And I use that in replacement of war, because we're piecing our way and not fighting our way to our true selves, our new earth. And so this card offers us to put down the blade, because every demon that we've ever slayed, you've also embraced. Right. So those of us on this journey who have really held ourselves accountable and who are constantly in self-analysis, maybe too much, but we can finally rest our blades.
Right.
Against ourselves.
Right.
And we can still hold ourselves accountable, but not tear ourselves down in the process, is what it's saying.
Right.
So as your demons lose influence in your life, you're able to see their great potential as allies and guides in the new world. So just as we might have had a sinister little guide that followed us through our lifetime before, that sinister little guide is now is a friend.
Right.
And it's we can listen and laugh with that voice versus, having it, guide us to make wrong unwise choices for our best. So, this is basically, releasing toxicity in your life, and the dragon spirit gives you the ability to defeat any obstacle. So right now,
dragon energy clearing a lot of those old programs again, that we've become far more aware of I've spoken about it before, about the negative things are actually just in balance with the positive. Mm-hmm. And if you flip both of them, there's a negative in every positive and there's a positive in every negative. So I think we're all reaching that point where we're starting to see that the negatives are actually just as valuable now, and we're listening rather than reacting to them. So we're all doing that work that is definitely helping to clear those patterns out, and it's a peaceful paving of the way for everybody else. So thumbs up to everybody for doing the inner work that's getting you here at the moment. So I'll post a picture of that card as well at the end of the webinar. So again, thank you for being here and connecting and pulling that card for us. I know I've done a lot of the talking up to this point, but now I definitely want to hear much more about you. I want to hear your voice. So if you could just do a small, whatever kind of introduction about yourself that you want to do, about yourself and your work right now.
Okay, that's a good point to say right now.
It's ever evolving.
And I've been on a spiritual journey growing up. I'm really in tune and aware with my gifts. Maybe not aware, like as in evolved, but definitely connected to my gifts. And I was supported by my mother and never, having me have a belief that I didn't have these things. And so I've really followed my imagination, and I think it led me to the path of being an artist and now a muse, and cultivating this craft, using my art as healing, and knowing that it's also an intuitive gift, and it's a really safe way of healing those wounds, but also really facing them. So right now, I think the best sort of description of myself that I can put out to the world is that I am a muse, in the sense there's so many muses. We're all muses, but I am one of them.
Right.
So.
Right, and I want to ask more questions about that for sure. You're describing yourself kind of as a new muse. What would your definition of that be?
I think that a muse, finds a new inspiration to what's already your own inspiration. Like, so you might have an idea and it's in there, and a muse just helps to help it bloom and to blossom. Right. And so it's like a reflection. Sometimes it does take some inner work to really uncover that. And but I think muse finds inspiration in every situation. So just as you were describing, like our sort of negative qualities and negative journeys, now seeing them as inspiration.
Right.
And for me too, I'm not in opposition of feeling those feelings. Like if you still feel sadness towards the past, like we can still allow yourself to feel it, and just maybe just transform it. And so there's a lot of different avenues towards that.
You're kind of tapped into this constant inspiration that helps mainly creative people kind of tap into what they're trying to manifest.
Right. Everybody is creative in a sense. Everybody is creative. We're creating this thing every day that we wake up to.
Right.
So I'm definitely not limited to. It's definitely artists that might be having a slump. Sometimes having a muse around just really starts to
gets the juices and all the creative energy moving around again. Someone that you can really bounce off, that is not emotionally attached to you or your situation or your ideas or how they're going to unravel. Well, you also I'm gonna go back to that bit in a minute, but how do you think being a muse is really helping to move your clients forward? Like you said, you work with a lot of creative people, so just like an example of maybe.
This was really fun project for me that I'm thinking of. It was first time I'd ever worked with this chef, and she knew that she needed to get a book out, and so we worked, and we were able to pull her stories out and write the book, and so now she has a cookbook to match for all of her wonderfully rich recipes.
Wonderful.
And so that's just one example. Some of the times when I go to corporate clients, it's simply just like this artist perspective on illuminating a creative light onto their maybe very linear way of their process. Working with artists that are wanting to come out as actors and actresses, that's really fun.
Oh my god, I didn't know that you did that too.
So usually most of the time I'll start with dance when it comes to actors. And so it all depends on the people and their situation.
You really are working with a lot of different backgrounds and really individually tapping into their own projects and helping them to bring them into full manifestation, basically.
And then to the clients that are really open to it, I will definitely tap into that psychic, universal wisdom, which we're always tapped into it, but depending on their spiritual beliefs and how deep they want to go, you know, we can really delve into the psychic world as well. So I have a lot of creatives that are also finding their own intuitive practice, whether they're psychics or, you know, intuitive artists. And that's quite fun for me as well.
Yeah, that really does marry up the both sides. 'Cause, I mean, so many creative people are extremely kind of open-minded to begin with anyway, and are intuitive without knowing. So it's good that you're providing a way for them to tap into that, so that it's not like everybody needs the muse the whole time. Muse also helps you to tap into your own inner muse. So
exactly.
I think that that's really wonderful, like giving people that power back as well. So who would you say has been your greatest muse on this journey? Who's inspired you the most so far? I'm sure there's been a handful, but if you had a favourite, because I know, I mean, we could even talk about, if there's not like a person, like a book or something like that, something that's been a great inspiration in your life.
Yeah, I would have to say the greatest impact is not from the necessarily living 3D world. Some of as a young girl, some of the spirits that came to me that really, they were really guides, and they really impacted my life at a younger sense. But now, I mean, of course, my children inspire me, but artistically and sort of the whole compass of it is actually, and the outward projection to it is Erykah Badu.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just, who she is who she is.
Right.
And so you can see it in her art and everything she says, and she's just authentically and whole encapsulated self.
Right.
And so I adore that, and I admire that, quality.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Anyone who doesn't know Erykah Badu, please do look into her. It's definitely worth it. Badu. So what is it like when you follow your intuition for you? What, I know it kind of feels differently for everybody, and I just wonder how it kind of unravels for you.
Yeah, when I follow, so intuition in the context that you're saying is sort of the positive avenue.
Right.
So when I follow that intuition, right, and I believe it and I listen to it, it sucks. It's a lot of the times it's like missing out on a fun time, or not being involved in something that should just be. I feel great, for my ego or something, or even just a great time. But or following it is like facing those. You gotta face this thing about yourself, and so it's painful, but it's always the right way. So I wouldn't say that it's a field of roses, or, or something like that.
Intuition doesn't tell you what you want.
I'm like, wait, I need another card.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah,
definitely. I get that, and I think a lot of us still get caught out because we don't like the answer. So
on the other side of it, other side of that is always, heaven on earth.
Right.
It's always and it's always when the right pieces, the right cogs come together in the wheel, and then you're like, after you've gone through all of that, then you see like, there's a whole screenplay that's just been written through all this and stuff like that. So the reward, it is
definitely following the steps, being able to look back and seeing how it took you to where you're at, hindsight, definitely is amazing, and intuition definitely is a...
Oh, thank you.
By the way, I'm sorry, we're just like chatting away. But we are so happy to have people here, and thank you so much for sending your love and saying such lovely things to support us and motivate us. And it's not always easy sitting up on a camera, but it does make it a little easier when you really like the person and you get along. So I knew immediately that I was making my job easier by making sure that these are friends and people that I know to begin with, because immediately it just takes so much pressure off, and really this is just about just, you know, Kim and Frankey having a chat and people being able to be a part of that. So again, thank you for being here, and I hope you continue to enjoy it. Thank you, Roz. So what have kind of been some of the most powerful tools or experiences that you have had that have helped kind of greater align you with yourself?
The first thing that comes to mind is boundaries.
Right.
Which is probably the hardest one that I've learned, and is in my toolbox now. I think pretty. I think for me to really understand boundaries, I had to put a symbol and of a boundary to me, which is like a ring of fire. A lot of the times in both the psychic world and the human world. But you know, just understanding that boundaries were compassionate was a little bit of a challenge for me to understand. I felt like boundaries were kind of mean,
right?
You know, right. So that's been good to put the boundaries up first rather than, you know, later when it surprises everyone.
Right.
So I've really learned to do that in my as we were talking about, and I can always learn more, like the kind of clients that I would like to work with, understanding how to just softly put those boundaries up and like allowing in the right energies.
Right, right. It's a communication tool. I think a lot of us have been fine-tuning how we communicate, not only obviously to ourselves, but to the outside world. So yeah, boundaries for me have also been an extremely powerful process, because also we're just so very giving kind of people as well, and it's hard to kind of shut down and have that guilt that I would have to work through when I felt too drained to be able to help anybody, you know. So yeah, working through that and nurturing yourself and honouring that in others as well, it definitely is very paradigm shifting for relationships.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just I think all of us as empaths and intuitives, you know, we understand the importance of meditation and self-care and a daily practice of it.
Right.
The work that we do is, you know, is really when we hold space and when we're true to holding space for someone else, it can be a lot, you know, so we have to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, whatever that looks like.
Yeah,
you know?
It's all going to be unique as long as there is some kind of self-care.
That's been a huge tool,
right.
Like honestly, to bring me back to a level head.
Right, I know, and I'm sure it's the same, but I just know how much of a greater help I am to everybody else around me when I've like ticked those mind, body, spirit boxes on myself every day.
Yes.
As soon as I miss one of them, I pay for it dearly, and so does everyone else around me.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it really, by not doing it, you're really not helping yourself in the long term. You just make it more difficult. So yeah, suck it up. Do it. So yeah, definitely self-love is an ongoing journey, because there's just so many layers to keep peeling back, and yeah, definitely the self-care routine for me has been that bridge that has allowed that self-love to happen, you know. So I'm glad that that's been powerful for you as well. And kind of what do you do each day in that case? What is kind of your normal way of supporting those areas in yourself?
Well, this has been a hard one for me because I'm not like so much into fitness, like really, but I've really.
But she's extreme. You should see her. She can move, and she's definitely strong and flexible. So okay.
But I've just known that it's so much. I've just accepted that I'm a human being, and that like everybody else, I hold it in my body, and so moving it out is like it's crucial for me, and especially I think I'm learning from shout out to Meredith Swam and Meredith Lucky Stars, but she's really helped me learn about my sign and that I've got to move to get this fire like out because it it can burn my insides if I don't, you know. So
it really builds up unless you release it. And I've talked about this in previous webinars as well, how powerful it is to energetically move out the energy that's not serving you. You know, so much of us are going through all the mental inner work and stuff, and that has its purpose and place, but for me it's just nothing more liberating than being able to move that energy out physically, to know that I'm doing the exact same work but on a physical level I can tick so many different boxes by doing that at the same time. So
it really is like an empath's tool to get rid of everyone else's stuff,
right,
because there's always going to be our own stuff, you know, in there too,
right.
But I think it really just shakes it off of the skin to just move.
Yeah, and the fact that we're holding so much in our bodies anyway, to be able to check in every day, like I said to Kim this morning after yoga, my left leg is weird today. But like I love that about myself. Every day is like a new different thing, and to nurture and love and understand and see how the energy is moving around in my body, and how one day, you know, doing one movement or exercise is easy and flowing, and on a different day it's so difficult to do and you're shaking and but it's great. I'm not afraid of that anymore. I think a lot of people are afraid of that shaking, and I remember my instructor saying that it's a sign of transformation about to happen. Don't be afraid, keep breathing through that, because you're going to shift through to the other side and it's a whole new world. So welcome that uncomfortable shake. You know, again, I think a lot of us don't do the movement because we're suffering from pain, or just don't feel like we're flexible people, or whatever ideas that we have in our minds about ourselves. But movement can be done sitting in a chair. It can be done when you're cooking. Like I was saying to somebody the other day that I learned about dance, and it really helped to open up my sacral chakra abundance issues actually. And so every now and then I just shake my hips in the kitchen. I'm like, no one's around, but I just have a little dance and shake it off.
Exactly.
And I'm sure that if anyone else saw me, they would think that I was being crazy, but I would have never have done that years and years and years ago. But through just shaking my hips every now and then, I think anybody can do that, because it's the intention that you're setting as you're doing
it's like getting all the dust off. And, making way.
I was thinking of myself like a dog, just kind of shake it all off. And okay, something else I'm interested to learn is, you know, what has been one of the most healing experiences for you?
There's been a lot. I think a big one was honestly when I got a thorn stuck in my eye, and I really had to have an eye patch over my eye for 36 hours. Was really no escaping that healing, but I was also able to heal my eye, and then also heal, you know, all this sight around what I was seeing in other dimensions, but, you know, just really that sight within myself, about myself. And so we've all had traumatic stuff, and I think everyone in this group probably, and everyone doing this work, has had like probably massive trauma, and so that's what got us on the road to healing. And so I think, you know, me really just facing all these inner woods just in general has just like unlocked all this the freedom of being attached to the trauma. So I think, you know, there's so many people along the way, and I'm an open heart, and if I connect with you, I'm also going to share with you my issues, and so there's just so many people along the way that have, like, too many to name, that have just helped, like, have held my heart. And so it's also taught me to how I can hold other people's hearts, you know, when they come to me for readings or for the musing work or whatever it is, that's helped me heal enough to be able to hold another's heart. It's hard to say one significant.
No, and I really like the fact that you're using a traumatic and really pain, like a physical accident that happened. And I really want to actually elaborate on that, because it happens to me on a regular basis in a different way. When I need to shift in some way, I burn myself. I don't obviously do it intentionally at all, and I'm full of burn scars. But whenever I burn myself, like, the pain is so, like, there's nothing else I can think about. And I usually do it on hand, so there's nothing I can do either.
Yeah.
So I have to sit there with the burn. And normally the only way for me to get rid of the pain is to leave it in water.
Right.
So normally a good 5 or 6 hours I'll be sitting there with my hand or finger in the water, not able to do anything but process how I got myself to this place.
Yes.
And I have had some amazing, like, by the time it's all gone, I feel so good.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like going on some kind of, like, pilgrimage.
Yes.
Like a totally unplanned one. So I'm just, I really do think that those little accidents can really shift us forward. So I'm glad that you use that as your example, knowing that there's probably a million modalities that you've experienced through other people, but it could just be an accident, like a burn on the finger or thorn in the eye.
Yes, I mean, the universe is saying, hey, like, you know, dig deeper into this. And another example is when I had colitis. Like, when I first moved to Charlotte from LA, I had an outbreak of colitis, and so, you know, my guides and everybody was like, hey, you got this, like, this lower chakra work to heal. You know, you've got to face that sexual trauma or whatever it is and all these issues, like, once and for all. And sometimes you can do it through the physical healing the emotional wounds, you know. That's why I love dance and acting and theater. I use that all the time with my clients, is getting it in the physical way. So I was able to, you know, really talk to, you know, my intestines and the cilia and help them grow back. And, you know, I don't have colitis anymore, but I also had to do all of that forgiveness work, you know, of forgiving the past and not just sweeping by it, but, like, digging in there and sitting in it and sitting in and feeling my, you know, cilia growing back in a new healthy way. And so there's no separation to me anymore after all this work from, you know, mind, body, spirit. I mean, there is, like, in dimensional sense, but we really we encapsulate all of it here in this physical form. So definitely I can digress all day long.
No, I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, so where am I at? What else have we got? Yeah, let's learn a bit more about you as a writer and a singer, because I'd love to know more about how these gifts are influencing your work. I know that you ghostwrite and things like that as well. So how are you incorporating all this writing and music into everything that you do?
Well, in my musing program, Gratitude Magic program, it's everything. All of the arts are infused. There's elements of visual art, and even though I am not necessarily gifted so much in the, you know, of drawing and stuff, I still use that as part of our whole healing journey in the Gratitude Magic, finding soul purpose.
And where do clients come to you in Charlotte for those sessions?
Yeah, and if there's, you know, depending on the people interested at the time, we might have, like, a collective group. And, you know, I'm also, I studied the Star of Ishtar, the Red Tent training, so I've been leading circles and groups for a long time, and even back when I was doing underground theater, we wrote our pieces as a collective, and so we would go through a year of spilling our, you know, collective beans and stories and journeys and creating from that space. Wow. So, and then, you know, music, I'm singing, sometimes I'll sing specifically, like, in, you know, toning the chakras of the body is, I love to do that, and I love using sound as a conduit for healing of any type, but I also have that performance side too, and so I have music that I do, and I'm, you know, always writing something, and now it's scripts, again, kind of more for film versus play, but I enjoy being a writer. A writer is what actually got me to LA, and I just sort of happened upon music, because I always wrote for friends and wrote poetry, and I just happened to be at a coffee shop in LA and kind of had a I was singing, and it just kind of, enveloped from there.
Oh wow.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for that. Gratitude Magic. It's the program that I developed a few years ago. Sort of based on a lot of influence. This is influence. Was
right.
the Artist Way, and Goddess Warrior training, the Red Tent training, and just my art of musing training, my self training. I've kind of fused a lot of those elements together and created Gratitude Magic. So it's a commitment of time to do that program. It's either 6 months, a year, or as long.
And so is it about bringing something into manifestation by the end of it?
Oh yes.
So through gratitude we are creating, basically.
Yes, and my meaning of just gratitude isn't maybe the interpretation that's out there fully with everyone. I don't believe in that we don't have the ebbs and the flows, and
right.
so it's
yeah, Roz, you're not far at all, so you can definitely make it. Roz is actually up near Charlotte, so that's good. You do the ghostwriting work as well, don't you? I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I have, and it was a little bit of a journey with my ego, but I really feel honored to, if people are, they have these great ideas and they just need help writing it out, then I enjoy being a ghostwriter, writing it, kind of pulling these amazing stories out and writing it, and then they have something to share and offer. I do that with singer-songwriters all the time, and with...
I'm wondering if, especially with the healers and a lot of the kind of psychic kind of groups as well, I know that there's a lot of individuals out there that have their concepts of what they want to create. It could be like a card deck or something that you've done the artwork for, but you're stumped on, how to make that happen.
Right.
It could be maybe the write-up for your web bio or something.
Exactly.
I think you could really be very useful to a lot of people, because just not everybody knows how to tap into that creative energy, but if they can work with you, then I get the feeling that it kind of activates or unlocks a door, and it gives you that ability to take it from there afterwards, kind of thing. It gives you enough inspiration to keep you moving forward.
I have a wellness coach who sends me, she's like, I had this crazy meditation and this came up, and this flower and something about this, and I'll create these one-liners for her.
Right.
Just I do it all the time anyway, living and making or stuff like that, and I'm not. So she'll give me her idea and her thing. Can you make a little one-liner of that? And so I'll send it back to her, and and so she can have those as her quotes.
Nice.
And that's very fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
So.
And I can imagine a little bit of work on the ego has to be done.
A lot of work. A lot of work.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. It took a lot.
I was just thinking, imagining doing a painting and just letting someone else put their name on it. But I commend you. I do. And I know that it is so helpful. I think if you can step outside of your ego and do something that's selfless for a collaborative project, I think it's awesome. So.
And they normally are clients for quite a long time,
right?
Too. So it's it feels good because their message is so good,
right? They're things that you believe in as well.
Mm-hmm.
I get you. So I think we could do a full webinar just on the benefits of sound on the mind, body, and spirit. But I guess I wouldn't mind you elaborating a little bit more on the different ways that you're working with sound, with your different things.
Sure. Well, I'm coming up with a meditation album just in general. I like to do guided meditations, storytelling, and so we incorporate the sound, obviously, in there. You know, I really love bringing people to my pool and doing these sound soaks, like literal sound soaks. There's just something wonderful about what happens when the sound hits the water, hits the people. And it's an urban setting, so we really work on tuning out all of the, you know, outside sound.
Right.
And it's kind of like floating like you would in the floating, you know, places, tanks. But it's open air, so it's a little. If you had any sort of feelings about being enclosed, it's the opposite.
It's
of
not.
that.
It's completely open.
Yeah. And then, you know, just sound as a modality. Like I was saying, like singing into the body and singing into the energy swells. In the red tent training, we learned a little bit different. It's basically the energy centers of the chakras. We just have a different connotation to each center, which is a whole nother.
Maybe we'll come back for that one.
Yeah. So I absolutely love igniting and just seeing these energy centers like coming, like channeling my voice into a body and just seeing them just align. And it's like it's a gift for me, like to be able to unlock that, you know, with my voice with someone else, and it's embracing that siren energy. Yeah. So. I really enjoy all aspects of singing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always watching you. You've always putting a lot of different videos and stuff on Instagram. I see a lot of your current music's little snippets of what you're working on, who you're jamming with.
Yeah.
And you're always out and about playing somewhere. So I encourage you to sign up for, subscribe for her Instagram channel, because that's got a lot of cool stuff on there too.
Yeah.
So we've covered some of this question that I have, but maybe we could just kind of go into a little bit more detail about when you're working with a client, like really for you, like whenever you get a brand new shiny person, like what are you thinking? What's your intention behind the connection?
Oh my gosh. It's usually total excitement for me and like a flood of ideas. But so I have to, you know, go home and after the meeting and just like get myself in order. My excitement, my big fiery energy, kind of like, okay, step by step. But I really just to bring out the authenticity of that person and to believe in them so much that whatever it is they desire, that's all good for the planet and good for themselves, comes to fruition. And I hold that, and it, you know, sometimes it just takes that person outside of yourself to just hold your vision for you, seeing it all the way through, you know, and believing in you, to see it. Because there's no clients that I have, whether they, even if they come in for a reading, I've never met them, that I don't believe in. You know, like I believe in my clients. I trust their instincts and intuition and their ideas. If I don't resonate with your idea, then we're probably not going to work together anyway. You know, so it just excites me to see people like get that website up and start to get their own clients, or to sell that book, or to sell that record, or to sell that song. I mean, it's just
it must be extremely satisfying to see a project all the way through with people.
It's awesome.
I think we talked a little bit about, I mean, you were saying how much of a great time it was to collaborate with Georgie on the cards, and I've done the same thing with Maya Larson as well. We did a healing deck together, and so much happens in the collaboration as well. So it's wonderful to really see a project through, because you do go on such a journey with it. It's amazing, all the blockages that we don't know sometimes that are there in our subconscious about what we feel worthy of achieving, and how we might actually feel about being a successful person. You know, it's one idea, you know, it's one idea to think that that's what you want, but then once you start moving towards it, for a lot of people, they're like, why isn't this moving forward? You know, why is it not flowing? And then when you dig deeper, you actually realise that it's actually a lot of your own beliefs about what you're able to actually have in life. So again, having a muse around to be able to help you identify those as well as you're kind of
and it's
looking at-
particularly fun for me, I guess, when people are open to their, listening to the outer realms and their own psychic wisdom, and
Right.
I've learned something every time when in that capacity. When I'm a student all the time as well.
Right.
Their guides, when we're open to meeting more guides and stuff like that, there's always a new message for me too, like another tool in my toolbox of things. So yeah,
that's awesome. So you're definitely growing throughout the journey just as much as your clients are.
yeah, exactly.
What would your advice be for other healers?
Well, boundaries, like we talked about, is a big
Right.
one, and that's probably the hardest one for, I think, us as intuitives. There's low parts in this of sure, like especially if you're being your own intuitive work, or your own artist, or you're doing it sort of solo by yourself. To not get swept away in that negativity and that lack mentality.
Right.
So I would just say, and I'm sure most of you might even do this with your own clients, but rewrite those soul contracts, rewrite your agreement, and really think about what you're allowing, what you're tolerating. And so, like Renata Moore, a good friend, said, you get what you tolerate.
Right.
So I sort of think of my soul contracts as my tolerance.
Hold on, sorry about that. I hope that didn't upset anybody too much or interrupt anybody. Sorry, you carry on, Kim, whilst I just quickly put this message in.
Yeah. So that's basically it. I'm just focusing on those boundaries, and what also too, which I'm really learning myself, is what it is we exactly want.
Right, definitely. And we were talking also earlier this morning about creating a way of identifying who we're working with, whether it's like through a questionnaire that we create to kind of get a feel for the client that you're working with. If you create a set of questions, it will kind of allow you to tap in and be a bit more discerning with who we're working with.
That's so true. Because for me, I really prefer clients that are ready to do the work, and who already have a belief in the ability of a muse. I'm not in the business of convincing anybody. Those days are done.
Right.
So I might it's just something that we have to find our own capacity of. What are we, like our pillars, and our extremes.
Right.
We can always bend, but a little bit. But for the most part, I know that I prefer working with people who, if I give an assignment to, that they're gonna do it.
Right.
And because people can, and I've had this happen many times where I still get paid for this work, but they're not doing their part, the work.
Right.
And it's just not in alignment or fulfilling to me. I mean, it's nice, the money's nice, but at the end of the day, it's just not worth it.
Right.
And so but that might work for someone else. Like you might be, more patient with somebody, and like you might have the mindset to like, how can I even get this person to do the assignments?
Right.
Whereas I'm ready to work with people who are ready to.
Let's move. Let's go.
Yeah.
Definitely. And we've had the discussion before about quality over quantity. I think a lot of us are focusing on videos that have 1,000 viewers or 1,000 hits, and it's really just about creating some authentic, humble network of people that really want to actually do the work and don't just want to kind of skim past whatever it is and I would rather have 3 serious people than 300 people who are just kind of checking in every day,
and that's I think why another advice, I guess, to this kind of entrepreneur world, this entrepreneur is having tangible things to buy, like
Right.
your art and, you know, like the deck and other things for people who are wanting to do their own work on their own time can still use, you know, some of
Right.
your pieces and your influence. Having that passive income,
Right.
which was a huge thing for me to learn in this world, is just not to put everything into one
Right.
thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
See how other things can complement the work that you're doing,
Yeah.
and just kind of expand from there. That definitely is a good idea. And I encourage a lot of people to create their own card decks, because it's just such a wonderful journey to go on, and so fulfilling and rewarding to have your deck printed, even if you only got your deck printed for you.
Yes.
I mean, to me, that's like
That's
the best
your
thing
tool.
ever. It's you've made your own tool,
Yeah.
and maybe you can pass them down to someone who wants them one day. So I really do encourage everybody to give that a whirl. And you don't have to be, I mean, you can do symbols, you can just do a colour as the artwork, like just a yellow square, and then just write one line. It could just be an affirmation of some kind. It really, it isn't as difficult as you might think. And, you know, even if you started with 7, you know, start with the rainbow and go from there. It's just, it's a very rewarding process for sure. I'm gonna, okay. Oh, well, maybe we could do that actually, because last month I was gonna, because this was a question that I was gonna ask last month, because we were working with my Forever Conscious cards and we were exploring the word authentic, but I still feel like that's relevant for right now too. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I had already, I had done like a mind map for what authentic means to me, and shared that to the group. And I guess I just kind of wondered what your take on authenticity, what does that mean for you, basically?
I think authenticity to me is really is fused in the shadow. It's really bringing the shadow and the light to equal yin and yang sort of expressions. The dichotomy within expressing itself on the surface. So that's why it's messy sometimes, like finding our authentic voice. And so to me, like everyone has both of those sides and those things. So, you know, just being true to that, you know, that's why it's important to know what you want and like what you're calling in and what desires you'd love to see in your life. That's your desires are authentically you.
Right.
I'm not saying that it's all healthy all the time in this like world with skin, but it's an avenue to be truthful with yourself about your true desires and not denying it for anyone ever at all anymore. You know, that's living in your authenticity, like being so true, you know, good or bad about, you know, yourself, the qualities. That's how
Definitely, I totally align with that, and I really do feel like it's that, you know, that realizing, not rejecting my shadow side anymore, has really helped me to see how it's serving me all the time. Like how those traits that I thought were negative things were actually also positive things, and just as equally for my positive traits, they actually used in some circumstances or in excess are negative traits. So to me it was like the whole light dark thing is a very fine line between. At the end of the day, they're two different colours and they're both trying to teach me.
Yeah, exactly. And they really are just one.
Yes,
they're
exactly.
Just, you know, so.
Completely. So yeah, embracing those parts of ourselves and realising that like sometimes I have to be the bad guy in a situation. That sometimes I do have to be that negative energy. how I'm perceiving it at the time is I feel like I'm being negative because I'm saying this, but actually when you see it unravel later on, you're like,
that was honoring.
That actually set on a chain of events to happen that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just knowing when it's safe to be negative. For me, spirit usually helps me with that.
That's
like
true.
They'll push it out of my mouth and I won't even know. Like I may have been thinking it, but I wasn't planning on saying it. It just goes, and I'm like, oh my God, the world just exploded. But then I see it exploded and it just made all these beautiful flowers afterwards at the end of it, and it was supposed to happen. So, yeah, just learning not to reject that part of myself or beat that part of myself up, you know, because it is, both sides are always serving. So yeah, we've been having a really good chat. I'm going to wrap up this webinar. We're kind of coming to the end of it. I will be posting more links over for Kim's website, and so that you guys can look at the buy her wisdom card deck as well. These are all available there. So yeah, I really do encourage you to head over to Kim's website, connect with her on social media, just have a chat with her, honestly. She truly is a muse, and if there's any kind of project that you could do with some inspiration with, I really do highly recommend Kim, even if it's a video chat session with her. So do head over to roottocrownrealm.com and explore her website thoroughly, and I'll be posting links to her profile on social media. So, and of course, anyone who's in North Carolina, please make sure that you see what Kim's up to and
I'm the Bag Lady every Wednesday.
Bag Lady every Wednesday.
From 10 to 2.
10 to 2. And the Flow Church?
The Flow Church, which is Conscious Dance, is the first Friday of every month from 7 to 9 at the Project Space. And we're doing glow lights for this series right now.
Oh, I might have to send you a black light painting with you.
And then it's also the third Sunday of every month at 11 at Freedom Park. We're bringing it outside for the summer months, but if that's not your thing, we are bringing it back inside in the fall. So we just like to have it outside the summer.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing so much interesting information for everybody and learning more about your work and everything. It's an honour to have you come join us, and thank you so much.
Thank you everyone.
Okay, everybody, we love you so much. Thank you so much for all the guys that were here live with us. I thank anybody who is watching this afterwards, and please do feel free to reach out to Kim or myself, and I really, really look forward to connecting with everybody throughout the rest of the month. So, namaste. Bye.